Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for making it out today. Today's microlearning is on how to post content on LinkedIn that helps you land your next job with the amazing Mita Malik. The focus on today's microlearning is how to post content on LinkedIn that helps you land your next job. And I'll say dream job, right? With Mita Malik. For those who are new to Community of Seven in our microlearnings, the purpose is really to help our listeners elevate their mindset and skill set by bringing leading authors, coaches, executives, founders, and subject matter experts. And our goal is really to democratize leadership development for all. A little secret, when I first started posting as Community of Seven, the voice of the brand were two people. So the voice of the brand in terms of the tonation of the post that I had was two people. And one of them was Mita Malik. And the other one was my good friend, Avina Sumra, who's like a neighbor. She works for Chase Bank, but she's one of my neighbors. And a little bit of the story, I never posted before. I was depressed. I was in a real funk. And I remember Avina was just like, you need to go out and run. And you need to, and we started waking up 5 a.m. every day and running. And Mita also was another of those kind of positive voices in my life during probably one of the darkest days. I had just been laid off of Fortune magazine. I wasn't working. I was depressed. And it was these voices that were so positive. And I just remember how supportive she was. And when I look at the posts that Mita has on LinkedIn, and it's that same positivity, right? And what I always say is sometimes, especially when you're feeling dark and you don't believe in yourself, sometimes you need to borrow positivity from other people. You need to borrow bravery until you can start believing in yourself. And as an introvert, I had social anxiety when I was younger, and it's definitely gotten a lot better. So I'm more of an introvert now, but so posting online, especially on LinkedIn, was not natural for me. It was a lot easier for me to post as Community of Seven than it did myself. And I only earnestly started posting as myself, Lan Fan, probably about 5 months ago. And at that time, I was at home with my mother. I took the summer off to spend time with my mother who had dementia. And I just remember thinking, my mother, you're slowly seeing someone lose their memory, right? And I realized that I needed to tell my story. And so I was making myself small, and I was internalizing doubt that I had gotten from society, from bosses, that I couldn't do this, right? And then I realized that my voice did matter. And if I could just help one person reading one of my posts on LinkedIn, then it would have all made sense, right? It would have been worth it. So I started posting months ago, and I haven't looked back since. I'm so excited for this call because I hope you too, the folks who have been afraid of posting content, that you just take a chance on yourself a little bit. And I can tell you from being an introvert, it was scary as heck to kind of talk about my pains, my issues, my flaws. But I realized at the end of the day that my value of helping people and the fact that I could maybe help one person reading it, it made all the difference, right? And today we're going to really be talking about how it can help you professionally as well. I'm so excited to be introducing Mita. She's a corporate change maker with a track record of transforming businesses from the inside out. And in this past year, she added another mission to help as many women as possible get back into the workforce. She's a staunch advocate of working parents, women, and people of color, and she spent her career building the voice of the disenfranchised and the voiceless. She believes companies have a responsibility to make an impact, and she gives innovative ideas a voice and serves customers and communities with purpose. Mita is currently the head of inclusion, equity, and impact at Carta, and is a top LinkedIn voice of 2020. As a former head of diversity, inclusion, and cross-cultural marketing at Unilever, Mita's effort to build an inclusive culture have been celebrated worldwide. Under her leadership, Unilever was gender balanced at the manager level and above. Unilever was named the #1 company for working moms by Working Mothers in 2018, and #2 for best employers for women in 2020 by Forbes. 2 years ago, pissed over the shit going on in corporate America, she started posting daily on LinkedIn. In less than a year, she became a top LinkedIn voice, and most recently was one of 100 chosen nationally into the LinkedIn Creator Program. She also launched Roundtable Talk with the amazing DC Marshall, where they give leadership lessons, advice, and coaching focused on women of color and allies. Without further ado, drum roll, my good friend, Mita freaking Malik. Hello, Mita.
Thank you so much. What a kind introduction.
Welcome. I mean, you're pretty amazing. I would probably make it longer if I added everything.
No, that was long enough. I am so touched by your Community of Seven story. I had no idea. You got me.
It was your voice. I've told you that before. It was your voice, like the intonation of, you are such a cheerleader for people. And sometimes when you're feeling self-doubt, you need to have that voice of like positivity. And so with the whole Community of Seven post and my personal post, my whole goal is, how do you give people hope? And so that voice that I had of, you can do it, that's your voice. And that's Avina's voice, because I am lucky that I have amazing like tribe of girlfriends and my husband and my friends and family who are very supportive. Not everyone has that. And I wanted to post things that were positive. And I thought about you and Avina and your voices in the back of my head. So that story of the origins of the brand voice, you are the brand voice. I probably owe you some royalty.
Now we all have Community of Seven. We all have Community.
So before we begin,
yes.
I know folks are dying to know what made you start posting, and what was your impetus, and how has it changed your life?
So it's funny. I think Michelle earlier, while we were hanging out, waiting for this session to start, talked about this. I've been on LinkedIn for a while. I used to, back in the day, run employer brand at Unilever. And I had someone on my team, a reverse mentor at the time, who said to me, Mita, you love storytelling, like you should be on LinkedIn. And for years, I would just be like scrolling and watching. I wouldn't even be afraid to like. What does it mean if you like something?
And you were a lurker.
Lurker, yes, lurker is the right word. And then I think it was 2 years ago where I thought, what do I have to lose? Because I was really struggling with having my kids at home and leading a big job. And then now I changed big jobs, and a lot of guilt because I saw a lot of caregivers not have the choice and had to leave their jobs. And so that's what I just really thought, what do I have to lose? So that's really, I think, similar to you when I really started sharing more. And also, like I joke and not joke, it's, you can make time for the things that are priorities. I stopped drinking, I stopped Netflix binging. People are like, how do you do it? How do you have time to write? I'm like, you find the time for the things that you care about.
Totally. I love that. And you've grown your following so rapidly too, which is amazing.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it. I didn't really understand the difference in the beginning between connections and followers. But yeah, I also think you and I have talked about this. I think sometimes when you can be really honest and raw about something you're experiencing or a point of view, all of a sudden you have all these people engaging, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so a simple example is, I don't know if anyone's watching, what is the new name of the Sex and the City series? I can't believe
the reboot. The
reboot. I'm watching it. Off and on, I decided to watch the recent episode that was about the volley, because I was like, oh, and just like that, thank you. And so I was like, oh, I wonder what they're doing with the volley. Because it's part of my culture. And I was really disappointed in the episode, and I posted about it, and I was like overwhelmed by how many people felt the same way. So that's like a small example of like when you share something, an observation, something you're watching, something you're experiencing, and it's like, you're not alone. All these other people feel the same way. I'm like, oh my God, everyone else saw the same things I did. Or people privately messaging me saying, I watched that episode and I didn't really understand how offensive it was. Thank you so much for educating us.
Yeah. And you also post such a wide diversity of content, right? Your content sometimes touches marketing, sometimes being a working mom. So how do you decide what content to post?
That's a great question. I encourage everyone to do this exercise. You just grab a piece of paper or on your iPhone I like things in threes. Think about 3 areas that you are passionate about. We can tie it to expertise and jobs that you're looking for. 3 things that you're passionate about that you would want to post. That's what I did. There are 3, for me, it's 3 pillars. If you follow me, this will make sense. One pillar is clearly around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And for me, a big part is inclusive marketing because I still consider myself a marketer. And so I will, even with the Sex and the City episode, it was through the lens of marketing, who was on set, how did this happen, all of that. So you'll see me post around that. The second is more, I think, around leadership lessons. Lan was kind enough to invite me last year. We talked about gaslighting. And so things that I've experienced in as a leader, as an employee, and how that ties to DE&I. And the third is really around being a mom during this time and being a parent and a caregiver. So those are primarily the 3 pillars I post about. And if we each think about ourselves as brands, whether we want to or not, sometimes that gives people an icky feeling. But those are, if you ask someone who followed me, what does Mita post about? People probably like, yeah, that is what she posts about.
Yeah.
I'm not really posting about sports. I'm not really posting about cryptocurrency. There are people on this call. Cryptocurrency is really hot right now, or so I hear. I need to educate myself. That's great if that's your area of expertise. That is not mine. So you will likely not see me post about that, but really be clear. And someone said values, but also what are the things you want to be known for? What are the 3 passion points, like areas of expertise?
I love that. And backing on the personal brand thing, I think it's so important, especially for the folks who are watching this, because I know Meet and I have had this conversation, especially with women, is that icky feeling of, oh, I don't want to promote myself or whatnot. Your personal brand is the only thing that stays with you for the rest of our lives. So we spend most of our lives building other people's brands and companies, and we're wearing other people's logos. But at the end of the day, if you get laid off or if you leave a job, they're going to find someone else probably like within 24 hours, right? But your personal brand stays with you for the rest of your life. And so start investing in yourself. It's not icky. It's just that's going to help you get your next job, right? So don't feel icky about
And I think
it's not self-promotion either. It's about
absolutely
talking about things that are important to you, right?
And I think when you think of it through the lens of authenticity, the 3 pillars I talked about, I don't feel icky about that. That's my life. That's what I care about. It's my values.
Yeah.
It's authentic. It's not the slimy salesperson, right? It's no, this is what I want to talk about. And you know what? These are the things I talk about. And if you're not interested, that's cool too.
You know what it reminds me of is our good friend Callie from LinkedIn, who one of the things she says is LinkedIn is a platform of generosity, right?
Yes.
I never really felt comfortable posting on other platforms, but with LinkedIn, there's this sense of real community and this notion of people wanting to help each other, right? And so that switch of being it being about self-promotion and about me to how can I help someone reading it was a game changer for me personally. And I think for you, and I think for you, it was similar, right?
Yeah, I just think of it as a platform to educate others and to be educated. I learn a lot from the platform on different things. And I do think it's probably not to knock any other social media platforms, but for me, it's the friendliest place I find where you can still disagree and still love and respect each other at the end of the day. Because I think we've lost the ability to do that a bit. So I think on LinkedIn, I feel like I can do that a bit more safely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know as part of the LinkedIn Creator Program, you were selected out of probably thousands of applicants. There's only 100 of them in the US. One of your mission as part of the LinkedIn Creator Program is to help as many women and more broadly as many people back into the workforce as possible. So what tips do you have on how to get companies and leaders to notice you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, gosh, where do we get started? I've been laid off twice. I know and I've been stuck in jobs. It's so difficult when you're in the job search process. Please don't get discouraged. Your job just hasn't found you yet, right? I said to a friend the other day, you weren't rejected, you were redirected, right? I think about all these jobs I was like chasing. God, I'm glad I didn't get those now in retrospect. But I think one of the things that I was very frustrated about during my job process throughout the years is like you apply to these black holes and you don't know what happens. You spend time applying to a job, submitting your resume, then filling out the application, and it's like crickets. And so one of the best pieces of advice I have is attract recruiters and companies to you. So if you are thinking about, you're looking right now for a job, you're in the job search, or you're thinking about your next step, make a list of 5 companies you would want to work at. What are your 5 dream companies? Then find leaders who are working in those companies. So let's say, for example, a dream company of mine was L'Oreal. Let's say I want to work in their luxury division. I would then actually find leaders who are at L'Oreal working luxury division. Now follow them, follow the company, follow the leaders, start following them and start watching what they're posting and start engaging in the content, right? Start engaging in the company's content, liking and commenting, and do that for 2 to 3 weeks over time. And I like over 2 months, and send me a DM and let me know how it goes. But you will start to attract attention because you'll be showing up on their feeds. And that's happened to me. The people who consistently show up on feeds and then ask me for a coffee, I'll do it because I'm like, oh my God, I've never met Michelle, but and I feel like I know her because we're always like engaging, right? As an example. So that is like one of my tips on how to get noticed is start to show up on their feeds. And then we can talk about the content you can create. But that's one of the things I started to do.
I love that. And I think, I forget where I got this. It was one of the kind of influencers on LinkedIn. They were saying that what he did was he actually emailed whoever it was. Let's say it was Richard Branson and asked, when do you normally post? And they would actually want to be the first person. So let's say Richard always posts at 8 a.m. He would be the first one to comment. And I actually have people who function the same way with me, where as soon as I post, I don't know if they read my mind, but they're automatically posting. And I've become friends with them because I'm like, they're posting good content, but it's also they have a genuine you create like a genuine relationship with that person.
Yeah. Also, like I know you use tools. I don't, I just use myself, but like you're using Hootsuite. If I am like, I post Monday through Friday, the calm before the storm in my house, which is between 6:30 to 7 a.m. US Eastern Standard Time. That is my tool. That's what I post. But you can also you will see people if you're using tools, they're scheduling them. So you can start to watch when Community of 7 comes out. And also the more I interact with Community of 7, you're one of the first that will show up on my feed, right? So that's how the algorithm works. The more that I engage and comment with Community of 7, the more you will immediately show up. The less I do, it starts to disappear.
No,
and so
totally.
That's the trick with the algorithm.
Now you've started posting, you're also engaging in feeds of either influencers or companies or executives that you want to get in front of. How do you now get networking meetings off of LinkedIn?
Sure. So let's say that I'm going to use Lan as the L'Oreal luxury CMO, luxury beauty CMO. So Lan and I have been interacting, you've been engaging, you've been commenting, and people have done this with me and it works really well. So then I will just DM you. But it's been that we've interacted a few times. I've made a comment, you said, oh, that's a great insight, Mita, or a little back and forth over, let's say, the course of a few weeks, several weeks. I'll just message you and I'll say, Lan, it's so good to be connected. I love all the content you post. And then I'll say, I'm actually really interested in working at L'Oreal. I could say, I've seen X, Y, and Z job, wondering if you would take a 20-minute coffee meeting. Right. And you're more likely to get a response because they know your name and they've been engaging with you versus just cold emailing. You could do that with recruiters as well. And I think that there are 3 things that are going to happen. I hope it's not the last, which is you don't hear back and they ghost you, which I don't think will happen if you've been engaging. But for me, when people do this, when they ask me if I have time, I'll do the 20-minute meeting. But more often than not, I will say, send me an email. Put the job description in the title of the email, attach your resume. Here's my email address at Carta. I will send it to the head of recruiting. And I do every single time. And I will say, this is someone I met off LinkedIn here. And so getting someone at a company to send your resume to recruiting is so much better than, I don't know, the Wizard of Oz machine. It's looking at resumes, right?
Exactly.
So that's what I have done. And it's been pretty successful for me.
It's funny because it's actually listening to you, it's pretty intuitive, right? Because even making friends out in the wild, right? If someone just came up to you and say, hey, Mita, how's it going? Like, you would just be like weirded out, right? It's this kind of slow progression. You run into someone at school. Oh, hi, we have the same kids. Small talk, right? And then pretty soon you start building a relationship. But people seem to forget common sense in terms of connections on like LinkedIn. And I'll get like messages in my inbox, like immediately, someone I don't know just asked me, hey, can we get on the phone for 30 minutes? I want some advice on this. And I was like, I don't even know you, right? So build that relationship important first. And it's just like making friends in the real life. You have to give in order to get in a lot of ways, right? So let's say you've gotten them to respond, right? Now, how do you actually approach the actual meeting? You're networking. How do you actually approach the next step?
So you schedule it and be on time and be prepared. I think a lot of people are forgiving, right? This is like I was telling Lan earlier, there was a headline a colleague had shared either in the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal that this is the year the entire country called in sick. I'm talking about from a US perspective last week, right? A lot of people are sick. A lot of people are worried about family members being sick. So there is forgiveness and grace if you were to miss a meeting. Like, I understand there's a lot going on, but be on time and be prepared. Be prepared that 20 minutes might actually only be 15 or 10. That's happened to me a lot. Like, people just are like, I only have 10 minutes, fine. And so be prepared of what's your story, like quickly, like your elevator pitch, what's your experience? Why are you interested in L'Oreal? And I would love to have the opportunity to learn more about the company. And especially if you have a specific job, that helps as well. So go ahead.
No, I'm saying this is important because it piggybacks to what you said earlier, which is, what is your personal brand? So your elevator pitch is very important because people have limited time. So if you're rambling on for 30, 40 minutes because you don't understand your personal brand, then you're not going to get the next meeting.
I'm telling you, this is one of the things I will be posting about. We're talking about the networking meeting. This is also related to the interview meeting. The biggest mistake I see people do is exactly what you said, Lan. People mismanage their time. The 20 minutes is my time with Lan. If I show up and she asks me, tell me about yourself, I use the 15 minutes out of it, it's done. Same thing in an interview, like that intro, that pitch, because then I want to ask questions about you. I want to ask about L'Oreal. And then I want to move into okay, how do we move me closer to a job at L'Oreal? But that's an amazing point. Like, people, tell me about yourself. People will spend so much time on that question. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you are ruining the interview. I feel so bad. Like, it's 30 minutes and we're still 15 minutes in, you're still telling me about yourself. Like, I can't even ask you about your experiences.
Exactly. Going back now, piggybacking to the content, what kind of content gets you noticed? So if the folks who are on this call, some post every day, and you have someone who've never posted at all, what kind of post gets you noticed in general? And your post gets a lot of hits, obviously, some in the thousands. What do you find works?
I think number one, it has to be authentic. I'm not posting about cryptocurrency until I know a lot about cryptocurrency and I'm excited about cryptocurrency. I'm not there yet, but it has to be something that you really authentically know and care about. I think the other two pieces of advice I have is, let's say I'll share about myself. Currently, I lead DE&I at Carta. I am contributing and passionate about marketing. I'm not a CMO, but many people still think I'm a marketer, which I know I am because I post a lot about it. So if you are, let's say you've been out of the market for 2 years and you want to get into sales, or you were a salesperson prior, start posting about that field. Start posting about, and I know that can be scary because you're like, what am I supposed to say? It could be easy, like observations you're seeing in the market. It could be following hashtags and commenting on other pieces of content, right? And so start to showcase your expertise and your thoughts and observations, because what'll happen is, going back to the L'Oreal example, when Lan then sends my name to a recruiter and the recruiter looks me up on LinkedIn, they'll be like, wow, she posts a lot about marketing. Oh, this is really interesting. She has a lot of observations. So I think that's important. I think a third really interesting tactic is you could start like posting and shouting out a company without being overly salesy about it, right? A lot of companies are doing really interesting things. So if you wanted to work at JP Morgan Chase and they had an interesting announcement or something, you could share about that and you could positively share your point of view. So those are ways in which that you can be getting noticed by companies and recruiters and leaders.
And how important is it to stay in your wheelhouse? Because I'll give you an example. Community of Seven is based on personal and professional development, right? So I post a lot on values, leadership, optimization. And I will once in a while get a snarky comment in the comments, this is not Facebook. Yeah, right. And I have to be snarky back. And actually last week, someone had posted, and I think he was in oil, like the oil industry. And I posted, you post on about oil, your LinkedIn is not a oil platform, but that's your profession. My profession is personal development. And so I post on leadership. And I think he got it because he deleted his snarky comment. But how important is it to talk about what your profession is?
I'm in the camp that those days are over. This is LinkedIn, this is Facebook. I think the pandemic sort of just blew that out of the water. It's everything right now. You have to listen, this is back to being authentic, being comfortable with what you're sharing. It took me a lot. It took me many years to share my bullying and gaslighting experiences and a lot of coaching conversations I've had with Lan. I didn't get there overnight, but you have to be comfortable with what you're sharing. And so if you know me, you know I have kids. A future employer will know I have kids. And if they don't want to hire me because I have kids, I don't want to work there. So I feel like that's how the world has shifted and changed. And I think that people are showing up very human on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I love that. And I have a good question from Julie.
Hi.
Hi, Julie.
I'll ask. Hi, nice to meet you both. Yeah, I was curious because I see Mita, I've seen your post for quite a while, and I always think that you do such an excellent job about finding really like cutting edge concepts or things in your niche or your field. And I was curious, how do you go about finding those? Like, where do you look? How do you look? Because they seem like really on trend or even before. So I was just curious.
Oh, that's a great question. Someone asked me this a while ago. They asked me if I had a content calendar, and I was like, huh? I was like, no, I don't. I have my iPhone. I have notes and I read a ton. I know this is an old joke. I don't read books anymore. We're on Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone. We're on the Harry Potter series. That's the only books I read. I don't have time to read books. Like I started reading, I forgot what book it was. I don't even remember. Like I'll go one chapter in and then days later, I'm like, what did I read? So I read a lot of short form. I have people send me things. I just save articles. I know that sounds simple, but that's what I do. This is my LinkedIn creator calendar. This is it. You can't even read it, but it's like a number 2 pencil, a highlighter that my daughter had kept. I'm like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. This is this one.
Can I admit something? I usually post when I go running. So people think that I'm like in my desk with a content calculator. Yeah. I'll literally be jogging and I'll be like, honestly, it's just because I'm lazy and I want to stop and take a break. So I'll be walking. And I remember one time I was running and I saw some deer and I was like, ooh, let me take a picture of the deer. And then I I wrote content about it. And sometimes it's just about things that are important to you that kind of happen. And of course I had to connect the deer with LinkedIn because I'm not going to just say, ooh, pretty deers. I talked about being in the present moment, but I think using like your real life and what inspires you is so important, and that you don't have to have Hootsuite and content calendars in order to be successful, as you just showed in your very high-tech content calendar.
My other high-tech thing is, I don't know if everyone's heard of Be Rooted, but they're an amazing journal company, stationery. Again, inclusion. I don't think I've ever seen myself represented on a journal. So this is really cool. So this is my little notebook that during the day, because I have the privilege of working from home. So I'm sitting here. If there are things that are happening or observations in meetings, something I'm triggered, I might just write it down for later. So I think it's just capturing things that you're experiencing in the moment, or going back through things that have happened. And it's all actually evergreen, right? I think it's all
some of it is therapy too, because I know we got a lot of fun doing the kind of toxic boss kind of thing when you wrote for the Harvard Business Review, and you were so gracious enough to quote one line for me, and it was therapeutic for me to hash out all of the personal pains that I've had. Is some of your content like therapeutic for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been like years of pent up things I've been thinking and wanting to write about, which I do. Yeah, absolutely.
So
and I
great
also think back to Julie's question. You can be following hashtags on LinkedIn. You can set up Google alerts. So if you are back to cryptocurrency or NFTs or anything that you're really interested in, showcasing your expertise and learning more about, then you can be getting alerts on those things they're happening, right? So I think there's the mix when you talk about things that are on trend or happening in the moment. You can share those.
And I think a lot of the platforms also have trending topics. And what LinkedIn has is the editors will combine. If you look at the top right hand side of LinkedIn where it says LinkedIn News, it'll talk about what is the content that people are most talking about. So you could like tag one of the editors or a hashtag the article, so it'll get people's attention in a lot of ways. So Michelle, you have a great question. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
I'm curious, why do you feel that posting 5 or 7 days a week is beneficial?
That's a great question. I think consistency is key. I don't do 7 days a week. I think I was watching Lan, she does 7, but I do 4 to 5. And I'm also not going to force posts, but I think the consistency is key, especially as you think about building your expertise on LinkedIn to land the next dream job. So if you're going to post twice a month, it's probably going to get buried. And that's scary because that was me. Like I'd post like once a month. So I don't think you need to do 5 times. I think you need to do maybe 3 consistently. And so it's the consistency, like creating any habit that you can stick to.
In terms of why I post every day, it's not for algorithms or likes or anything. It's simply because I'm a creature of habit. So there's this book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've read it, but it's an amazing book. Buy it. But one of the things the story he tells is a story of Seinfeld, right? Famous comedian. And this young comedian went up to Jerry Seinfeld and it was like, how did you become one of the greatest comedians? And Seinfeld just looks at him and he said, I just wrote a joke for 15 minutes every day. That was his answer. So literally what he told this guy was, I just told myself that I would write a joke for at least 15 minutes. It didn't have to be good or bad every day. And I would put an X on the calendar. And the goal was not to break the chain. So this whole notion of not breaking the chain. And for me, it's about creating a habit. So even when I exercise, there's days where it's cold and I don't want to exercise, but I'll do 10 jumping jacks. And I'm like, I did a little bit of exercise because I want that consistency of every day. And that's the same thing with the post. It's not like some algorithm of me like getting on LinkedIn. It's just basically, I know if I post every day, I'm not going to break it because guilt. So Mita, I think we talked about how you create your content. What tips do you have on people's LinkedIn profiles and how, because it's of course really important to optimize it. How do you optimize your profile?
Yeah. Before we go there, before I forget on the content piece, one of the tips that someone gave me is that, let's say there's an article you want to share about cryptocurrency and your view on it. Just remember that actually most people will never read the article. Your job is to give a synopsis or a point of view that's different. That's how you're showing your expertise. So if you're saying, hey, I just read this great article on crypto. Wow, it was game changing. Take a look. Most people are actually never going to click on that link. Some people will, right? But your job is almost to be like an investigative journalist, to show up and provide that point of view so that people see your expertise and they also learn something without reading. It's like the Cliff Notes without reading articles. So that was just another thing that I started to do on my content. So profiles, make sure you have a photo of yourself.
Is it important to be like headshot, glamour shot?
I don't think so. But I just think make sure it's of you. I'm just surprised that so many people don't have photos.
Or
And
photos from like when you're like in your 20s, like 20 years ago.
or like other people in it, or it's, I don't understand what's happening in that picture. Okay, so that's the one thing, right? Especially if you're trying to attract a future employer or dream job. I think that the about section is the most underutilized section. And so think about that as you're introducing yourself during a coffee chat. So if you read my about section, it's very different than other about sections. And I'm really sharing about my upbringing, my background, why I'm in this work, what happened in my career, why I'm here today. And so that's like really underutilized. So I would really encourage everyone to write something that's personal. I'm not a fan of the third person. I wouldn't be like, Mita is a corporate change. Okay, but what is it that I have done? And I just think I have so many people who have reached out to me being like, wow, your about section is really different. Like at one point I had a reference to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for anyone who remembers that show. And I've had like recruiters be like, oh my God, I love Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So you just never know, like someone's going to connect on something that you personally, that you put in your story. So the about section, I think, is really key.
And backing on that too, it's like when you post your content too, having your personality kind of shine is probably just as important as well, so that you're not cookie cutter, kind of showing vulnerability, etc.
Yeah. And I think the whole point of this for anyone who's looking or in the job search right now, it's like, what are you going to do to stand out in the job search? That's what this all comes down to. You want to get the job. As my brother reminded me, you don't need 10 offers, you just need one, right?
Yeah,
you can't do 10 jobs, right? But what are you going to do to stand out? And so I think LinkedIn is an incredible place to do that. So there's so many parts and pieces, like in every place you can be standing out, right? Like I know Lan has a video. I really don't like video. I'm trying to get over that. But you can click on the profile and watch someone's video. I still haven't done mine. You can include how your name is pronounced. I still haven't done that, but there's a lot of things on there that you can do to stand out. And all those small things add up. Experiences, advisory committees, all those things that you could be putting on your profile.
And Jesse Perna Elias has a good comment. I think your headline section can help you stand out as well versus just writing your title.
Absolutely.
Good point. So I have an anonymous question. Any advice on posting content for individuals restricted by strict NDAs by their company?
That's a great question. So I have a full-time job and I get my paycheck from a company. So, and a company that I enjoy working at. And so you have to remember that when you're posting, right? Who do you get your paycheck from? And like, how are you showing up? And so I think that's important. I write a lot about beauty and consumer products, but I don't work in beauty and consumer products anymore. So think about that. You can still post everything I post. I try to post from a place of positivity, right? I'm trying to teach something. I'm not trying to indict. I'm trying to say, hey, this is what happened to me. And I wish someone would show up differently. This is what an observation I had. And I wish the marketers had done this or this. And so I think you can still do it, right? If you are going to be indicting your company, probably not the best course of action if you want to still continue to work there. Yeah. Or indicting a future employer, right? So that's the lens, I think. And I think where it shifted and companies underestimate, like I'm an ambassador of Carta. I am. And we are all ambassadors of our employers. So if we're showing up positively, that reflects positively on our company.
Yeah, I love that. And we have a question from Pranav.
Hey, Lan, thanks for giving me the opportunity. So we do see that there are so many social media trollers everywhere, right? And LinkedIn is also the same. So how do you deal with any troller who might comment on you and start probably sharing negativity?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, that happened to me this morning. It's funny. Before I share my morning experience, I have, because of the type of content I post, which is one of the pillars is in the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda, I have a lot of individuals who will post, not a lot, but I've had some individuals post hate speech. LinkedIn, in my case, has quickly taken those things down. Actually, rather than deleting the comment or removing it. I let it sit there because that's not me, that's them. And I want that. If it's hate speech, I'm not going to tolerate that. I'm going to report to LinkedIn and hopefully they remove that. There are also people who will disagree and sometimes not disagree nicely. But I think there's a line for me between like hate speech, harmful speech versus like they just disagree with my point of view. For example, like I posted something about my excitement on the rise of Black and brown Santas, like not something I saw growing up. And people were like, why do you have to take a political stance on Santa? It's a fictional character. And I'm like, what? But then it was amazing. The community came. Like I found other people were like arguing with this person. So I think I was like, great, thank you all for showing up. But I also think I actually had someone who reached out about my podcast and it just turned into 28 irate messages from this person that just kept going on in my DMs. And I was showing my husband this morning and I was like, okay, I'm just going to block this person. Like you have to do what's comfortable for yourself and create your own boundaries. So yeah. I think, yeah, for me, LinkedIn has been like when I've reported things, it has been taken care of.
I think there's an energy too, because if you're spending so much of your time on the negative assholes on the line, you're going to spend a lot of your time on that. And for me, I just focus on the positive folks. And I think there was this one post, I lost it, but it basically said, if you disagree with what I'm saying, you could keep on scrolling. And I would just like, instead of answering it, I would just post that image. And it would shut most people up because it's like, why waste your time being negative on someone's comments? And a lot of times, because usually when you click on those people's, the negative folks post or their profile, they usually don't have too many connections. And there's probably a reason why. If you're negative like that online, you're probably negative like that in real life, right? And so just for me, my advice is just to not waste your time. So question from Sarah, wondering about tagging. Is it polite or inappropriate to tag others? And what about hashtags?
Great question. I do no more than 3 to 4 hashtags in order of importance. I try to keep to the same hashtags because they cover the topics I'm talking about and try to ensure the hashtags that you use have followers. Sometimes you might create your own hashtag, but if you're trying to gain engagement, that's one way to do it. What was the other question?
I think she's like tagging. So like tagging.
Yeah, hashtags and tagging. Yeah, so tagging. I think, listen, I appreciate when people tag me and they're like, hey, Mita, like this is a new campaign that came from Nike. I thought you might be interested in seeing. I think that you have to be careful with over tagging. Like when I'm tagged and there's literally 50 people, 60 people tagged, and I don't know the person well, I'm not sure what they want me to do. Like they just wanted me to see it. Okay. Like I go back to the Sex and the City post, which is recent, but I tagged a bunch of people in that because I knew they all would, I knew all the individuals.
But you knew these people, they weren't strangers. I think that's key.
Yes. I had relationships and I was like, I know that they're all going to have a point of view on this. If they want to comment, they can, but I'm tagging them. I also think some people, I've said to some people, because of the way that algorithms work, I know Lan and I will tag each other. Lan's stuff doesn't always come up on my feed. And also with our lives being busy, you can tag people that you know if you want them to comment. That's another way to do it. But I would caution you from tagging the world.
Yeah, and especially people you don't know too well, because especially when you start having enough followers, literally I will get tagged on hundreds every day and it just becomes overwhelming. And so sometimes I purposely don't comment on people who tag on me if I don't know them, because I feel like if I like it, they're going to tag me every day. And so I'll just tag things that I like about their content. If I don't see anyone liking their content, I'll actually interact because I just want to engage with their content. So I
also think, Lan, another good point is like tag with a question or an ask.
Yeah.
Like I've done
that.
That's
a good point.
I'll be like, Lan, I know you have a story here. I know you have wisdom to drop here. Just don't tag. If you tag and you're like, Mita, this reminded me of your post yesterday. And I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. And then I will comment. Like you have to because the tagging is like a lazy approach unless you know the people really well.
I love that. And there's a question from Carla Taylor. Do you want to unmute and ask your question, Carla?
Yeah, thank you. Hi. There are 2 takeaways that I have from you both that I have found so helpful. And so I do post. I haven't had a hesitancy around posting, but I felt that I needed some guidance around the content, and which is strategic marketing. And what I really like that you both have articulated so well, and for me, I think this is what the nut I was trying to crack, is that it's a balance between providing the intellectual content and providing that emotional piece as well, which is that authenticity, Mita, that you talked about so much. That'll really resonate with people. And it's got to be real, but it also has to have that intellectual piece with it and that meaningful sort of newsworthy piece as well. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I think that was really helpful.
Thank
Love
you.
that. So you're going to be posting right after this talk, Carla.
Right, stay tuned.
No pressure.
No pressure, right?
Awesome. So I guess we have to wrap up soon, but really quickly, can you tell us a little bit about, so you were creating content on LinkedIn, and now you've taken the next step, which is creating content in the form of a podcast. Can you tell us a little bit more about Brown Table Talks, how your posting online maybe influence the podcast, and tell us how we can help you in your journey with Brown Table Talks.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so Brown Table Talk, I started with my good friend, DC Marshall. Dee and I had been having these conversations for years. And 2 years ago, we were like, we should do a podcast, but we actually didn't know how to do a podcast. So we found a podcast producer, and we just really wanted to share all of the stories and the things women of color face in the workplace that we don't openly talk about. Her perspective as a Black woman, my perspective as a brown woman. And we also wanted tips on how women of color can not just survive, but thrive in their workplaces, and also for allies to pull up. So all of my experiences I've had, I was like, where were all the people other people that saw this happening to me? Why didn't anyone help me when I didn't have my voice? Why didn't people stand up for me? So that's really why we did it. We have some exciting news about season 2, which will be launched shortly, but season 1's available, 8 episodes. Hope you enjoy it. If you can give it a review and share it, that would mean the world to us.
Awesome. And so in the comments, and I'm going to do this in the live stream as well, I posted Mita's LinkedIn profile, so follow her. And I also added her table talks. So make sure you not only listen to it, but make sure you rate it as well. So if you want to support her podcast, go on Apple, listen to it. It's amazing. And then once you're done, and I know you're going to love it, make sure you comment as well or rate it as well. So final kind of advice, what's the one tip that you can give to the folks who are on this call in terms of posting? What's the one takeaway?
Just stand out and be authentically you. Everybody, each and every one of you can stand out to gain attention from that company, that leader, that recruiter. And I'm going to be creating more content over the next 10 to 12 weeks. So please DM me if there's questions you have or things that you're struggling with, and I'll try to address them over videos or posts. But it's an exciting platform, and I hope you all can use it to land, as Lance said, the job of your dreams.
Awesome. Yay. And so folks, I have a challenge for everyone who's on this call, watching on the live stream. I actually want you to post immediately after we get off. Post about anything that is important to you that you want to talk about. And you can actually, only for the next 24 hours, tag me. Mita, I don't know if you want to get tagged. Tag Mita.
You can tag me.
Tag Mita, tag me, and we will make sure we like it. And then let's do a tag. Hashtag, what's a good hashtag? Just tag, hashtag, let me see. I'm trying to do an original hashtag. C7, Will Sullivan says, hashtag badass women. Okay, hashtag badass women, so that we can follow each other's post. Okay, and then that way you can like each other's post and see what's on that content. Because of Will Sullivan, hashtag badass women, and to your post, so that we can all each other and connect with each other as well. Once again, thank you so much, everyone. If you can put this into gallery mode, you know the deal. Turn on your videos for folks who are on Zoom. Turn on your volume, unmute yourself, because Mita deserves a big round of applause. Woohoo! Turn on your videos, turn on your speakers. Thank you so much, Mita. That was so powerful. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And hoping all of you guys land your dream job in 2022. Thanks, everyone. Bye, everyone. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.